Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. This is a late night session as far as India is concerned, but it is in the afternoon in the United States, and we felt it was necessary that we should go live with what has been happening with Steve Bannon. And to know all about the latest on his trial, let us welcome Sasha Gong. Sasha, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a very timely session, because the verdict just came in like half an hour ago.
So, Sasha, this has been a really rocket trial, if you ask me, just a few days, and then the verdict is already out. And can you walk us through what happened? Because there was a statement by Steve Bannon before he entered today's court, but nothing has come out of it. So can you just walk us through what happened? We expected this because we just aired a video 2 days ago. So walk us through what is happening today, what happens next.
Well, let's go back a little bit in order to understand the whole thing. The trial was Steve Bannon was summoned to testify in front of the January 6th committee in Congress. He refused to testify, and first he cited privilege. He said, well, actually, his conversation with the president, President Trump, should not be disclosed because, Trump has executive privilege, which later actually not long, I think a few weeks ago, Trump said, okay, you can tell whatever I said. But, before that, they already they already filed charges against Bannon. And there was one session I could not find the video. I meant to find it for you. Bannon actually, when the subpoena was delivered to him, he threw it right to the trash can in front of the camera. So anyway, Bannon refused to testify, and then Bannon agreed to testify a couple of weeks ago. However, the prosecutor said, sorry about that, we will still charge you. Remember, this is a very interesting charge. And if we count people who refuse to testify in front of Congress and they were thrown in jail, well, there are some people in the McCarthy's time, but not in recent memory. Remember, some of Obama's staff absolutely refused to testify, and the Congress did not even chase after them, including the Attorney General Eric Holder. So,
what case was this regarding, Sasha?
That was some time ago, years ago during Obama's time, and the Congressional committee summoned Eric Holder to testify. Eric Holder just say, go to hell, something like that, something in that effect. So did not go. Anyway, Congress did not hold him, even he was in contempt. Congress and the Justice Department did not charge him. And this is one very famous case. There are other famous cases as well. And I haven't seen Washington court charge anyone with such a crime, even there are plenty of people who were in contempt with Congress, especially Democrats, when Republican was the majority of the House and Republican committees wanted them to testify. And it's just set on the stone.
So
anyway,
just for our viewers' benefit, I'm going to read out the exact thing. He has been found guilty on 2 counts of contempt of Congress, one for refusal to appear for a deposition, and second to produce documents. Now, the bigger picture is that he defied the subpoena of the House committee that was investigating the Jan 6th attack. So all this now, I guess, is out there. The sentencing, I believe, is on the 21st of October. So that's a good 3-4 months away. Now, we've already said that it could be 30 days each, and also there could be fine. There could be 30 days of jail, I should say, fine, and so on and so forth. But Sasha, I want you to read between the lines. Is this a shot at Trump? First question. And the second one is, are they going to find some similar excuse to drag Trump through the same process?
Yeah. Well, my answers are first. Of course, this is the shot at Trump and the entire January 6th committee. It itself is a gun aiming at Trump. We all know that. It's not
Yes,
I
yes.
don't think they can convict Trump on anything but they can sufficiently prevent Trump to run again, which Trump, I think, intend to do. The interesting part here is that January 6th committee, it called itself a congressional committee. It's not a legit congressional committee, I have to say, because any congressional committee, if you look at, I covered Congress for years. I know Congress very well. I myself testified in front of a Congress several times. And you are always presented by different views. You will have, Democrats and Republicans asking you different questions, and your view will be challenged and that sort of thing. This committee does not allow any pro-Trump people to participate. 7-people committee, they have 2 Republicans, Liz Cheney and Kissinger Kissinger.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 of them. And 2 of them are immensely anti-Trump, especially Liz Cheney. I think Liz Cheney, who's the daughter of the former Vice President Dick Cheney. And when Trump got to power, Trump vowed to end all this endless war. And remember, before Dick Cheney became vice president, he was CEO of Halliburton, which is one of the biggest arm trader in the world. Anyway, they make plenty. Plenty is a wrong word. They make all the money you can imagine from arms trade and from government contract as well. And in a way, they own Pentagon. This is what Eisenhower said, the military-industrial complex. They are a major part of this complex. And Liz Cheney, without her father, Liz Cheney was nobody. Absolutely nobody, because in my view, she's not bright, at least. Whatever in Congress I bumped into
Sasha, you hold a very high bar for people in terms of what you expect from congressmen and women. You can't blame them. They are in election mode all the time. They win one, they are out trying to raise funds for the next one. They lose one, they're trying to explain away to their donors why they lost and why they need even more money. This is all they're good at.
Exactly. But somehow you do expect someone who can win an election would have some kind of intelligence, which I don't see that much in Liz Cheney. It's not that, I have my records to show that I didn't like him even when he was not anti-Trump. I myself, I'm libertarian. I'm more pro-Republican libertarian. There are not that many Republican congressmen whom I don't like that much, but she's one of those people I really don't like, I would say. Anyway, so there are 2 people, 2 Republicans. They call that a bipartisan committee. It's not, and actually, originally Kevin McCarthy, the House Republican leader, wants to appoint Jim Jordan, who's very pro-Trump. And I think the other one is Banks, I forgot who's the other one. And Kevin McCarthy wanted to appoint them there, but Nancy Pelosi rejected those congressmen and picked up 2 who completely work for her. And these 2 people, Republican members in the committee, they hated Trump even more than the Democrats.
Well, this whole Pelosi business continues to baffle me, Sasha. I'm going to come to that in just one second. I have a couple of questions on this one, and let's just go back and look at Pelosi and Paul Pelosi, all the other stuff, that sleazy stuff they're doing. First of all, here, Steve Bannon, even though he was fired by Trump, still stood up for Trump. just days ago, remember, viewers, we showed you a video clips of Sasha's interview with Steve Bannon, and we start with his assertion that the election was stolen. So Steve Bannon, for all his faults, he still can figure out that there was a unique phenomenon called Trump. And if you listen to some of his interviews with PBS, for example, there's one 2 hours and 22 minutes long, where he says how essentially Breitbart was the one who went about picking who they thought would win the 2016 elections. And they accidentally stumbled upon Trump. And it's a beautiful interview where he elucidates this. My point in saying all this is, Steve Bannon appears to be, okay, he is cluttered, he is scattered, he doesn't come through with his promises, all the bad things you have said that.
Yeah.
On the good side, he has some good things to say about Trump. So somewhere, what do you make of his, his appearance? He looks like he has not shaved for 3 days. He seems to be trying to give the impression that he is for the blue-collar workforce of America, which also happens to be white. My reading, I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, from what I know is that if you look at, I know plenty of people in American politics, and in a way, if I don't think I am. I was part of the Washington Swamp people in that case. I work for AFL-CIO and I work for the big media organizations, right? And the different places. Yeah, somehow these people, one thing astonished me is most of these people, if not almost all of them, have very little understanding of what normal Americans say, what they call the
average Joe?
The rednecks, the Joe the six-pack. And in my case, first, I was a worker in China. And I stay in the factory I work in the factory as a manual labor for 7 years. And then I work for AFL-CIO here. So I have some contact with ordinary workers. In a way, Steve Bannon was one very rare creature in Washington who Harvard graduated and Goldman Sachs, and he's still very much in touch with his roots, the working classes. And the way he looks like, I talked to him and the dress issue, he always dressed like a bum. And he said in his life, he had enough of ties and suits. And he thought he was always in this uncomfortable uniform, his word. And first in the Navy, and then in the business world, always have to wear uniform, and he hated that. And coming from a working class background, I do understand. And I think, I actually think highly of it and get in touch with his roots. Not shaving, and I'm not sure I approve that sort of, that kind of look. But I do understand why he looked like that. And I think that's his connection with Trump. And even you look at him, he was Trump, two things. Trump may be a New York businessman, and with his expensive suit, and a sort of in my view, a little bit odd ties. But when Trump talked to ordinary people, and I was in many Trump rallies. First, I actually dislike him so much in his rallies because his people look like so rude to the media. But after a while, I realized one thing. Trump genuinely loved his audience. He loves them. And he's still loving them if you look at it, and he loves his audience. And that's his very deep connection with ordinary working class people, working class white, and the rednecks. And in a way, I may not approve a lot of Trump's whatever his behavior, especially, from my background, I hate that sort of behavior of calling people's names, that sort of thing. But you can't say, that's what Steve Bannon stands for. You cannot say those people, those Americans, the blue collars, people who don't look like us, don't have fancy degrees, you can't say they don't deserve a voice. Trump was their voice. Remember in 2016 during the convention, I was there. I was watching. I was in the convention watching Trump speak, and when Trump said in his speech, and well, in the end, he said, "I am your voice." That's a moving part. He said, "I am your voice." Guess, ordinary people, how much they have their voice. They don't. They don't have their voice in policy. They go to Washington, ignore their voice all the time. So I think that's Trump's attraction. And Steve Bannon actually piggybacked to it.
Yes, indeed.
Steve Bannon understands it.
Yeah, and again, I learned a lot about Steve Bannon from that 2.5-hour interview that he gave to PBS, Public Broadcasting System.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and you see how he was supposed to be the chief of staff. It's a shoo-in. There is no questions asked. He should have been the chief of staff. Yet you had Reince Priebus, who was the organization man, who ended up being the chief of staff. And he makes very logical sense as to how things started drifting, how he had to leave the place, and so on and so forth. It's a great interview. You should watch it because it's about 4 years.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. You did. I'm talking about the viewers. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I knew that, he and I were still friends at that time. Later, we have other disagreements. That's one thing. But I always admire him there, admire him for his intelligence. And, well, when you think of, Steve Bannon, well, let me put this way. Steve Bannon is also a very good communicator. As I said yesterday, he was just a bad administrator. And, most people don't understand how Reince Priebus helped Trump to win. And he's a key figure. In my view, he's even a more key figure than Bannon. Mr. Bannon is the mind, we agree, and I think the most crucial role Mr. Bannon played was, after the NBC tape, that harassment tape came out, and Trump thought he would lose, even Trump, and everybody thought he would lose. And Steve Bannon was the only one that I guarantee you will win 100%. And that was one incident. But if you look at what Reince Priebus did, Reince Priebus was the organization man. And in 2016, June 2016, after Trump won the election, Trump did not even have a good fundraising plan. And he has no fundraiser, did not know what to do. You mean
the primary? I think you meant the Republican primary in June 2016.
No. You're right. The Republican primary in June said not that before the convention, 2 months to the convention. He has no fundraising mechanism. And I followed him, so I kind of observed that. And some details, I'm not going to bother our audience on that. But to give one example, Florida was a key state. Trump must win. And Hillary Clinton already have about 50 offices in Florida alone. Trump has 1. So within a month or so, Reince Priebus actually built 60-something offices for Trump, which became the foundation of his winning. And he did the same thing all around the country. So I actually witnessed it. Okay, that's an office. Let's go and see it. That's an office. It's quite interesting.
So what happened to Reince Priebus? He kind of fell off of the grid after being the chief of staff for a few months or a year or so. What happened to him? Where is he these days?
No, he joined a very prominent lobbying firm. He's there making money. This is a Washington route.
Yes, indeed. Well, we wish
I forgot
Steve
the
Bannon...
name of the firm.
So in conclusion, I think we can say Steve Bannon got his wish. He wanted to get imprisoned. I guess he is getting that. He's earning his spurs. Maybe he wants to show Trump that, the road to victory might have to go through him again. I'm paraphrasing for him here.
Actually, I have to go back a little bit to, because most people, especially people in India, would not be that following American politics that much. Here's first, as I said yesterday, is that doesn't matter Bannon doesn't matter he's convicted or he's not guilty, he wins the whole case. Why he wins? First, you got to understand what's Bannon's purpose. Bannon has been sidelined by the Republican Party, even by the conservatives, for a while, especially after the 𝗣𝗚𝘂𝘀𝘀 case, after he was arrested the first time in August 2020. And he was very sidelined. Few people listened to him. No media want to invite him to their shows, something like that. And so he wants to get back to the center. I know he does. And how to get back to the center? He either be a hero or he be a martyr. With this case, he will be both a hero and a martyr. If he wins, of course, he wins, he did not win. He would be a victor. Lost, well, he had lost, and he's now the martyr. Republican Party, all the conservatives would point hands at the Democrats that, look, this is persecution, not prosecution. So that's one very interesting twist that other people may, want to know. It's, Washington, D.C., which the trial happened, it's a very lefty city. 93% of Washington residents voted Democrats. And in Bannon's jury, when I was watching the jury selection, I said, why they select people who donate to Hillary Clinton, who openly said they hated Bannon? Why would his lawyer let it go? And then I realized, actually, they aim at losing, not winning. Here it's, this is a jury trial in Washington, D.C. They have very little chance to win. Even people understand it's a persecution, right? But they can appeal. There's no jury trial in appeal court. And, because this case is so ultra ridiculous, and the appeal court had a very big chance to overturn it. I think, if you ask me to bet, I will bet the case being overturned in the appeal. So, if he wins the appeal, he will be both a victor and a martyr. And Steve Bannon wins.
Yes, indeed, and very interesting days ahead. We don't know what Steve Bannon is going to do, but if we have any fast track, inside track information, we'll be sure to share it with you. But be that as it may, thank you so much, Sasha, for taking time out of your busy schedule, for being able to do this thing in such a short notice. And viewers, again, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.
Okay, thanks.